Ladies and gentlemen, asterisk, how to never be bothered by anyone, even if they try to hurt you there. Comes a moment in every person's life when they must ask themselves, what power does anyone really have over me? Okay. The truth is absolutely none, unless you hand it over willingly. You are not bothered because someone said something cruel. You are bothered because, deep within, a part of you believed it. And that's the crack the Stoic must seal. Not by becoming hard, but by becoming conscious. People will try to hurt you sometimes out of envy, sometimes from their own pain, but their intention is irrelevant. What matters is your response, your power. Your presence to the Stoic doesn't react. He sees. She doesn't flinch. She feels, processes, and lets it pass like a cloud over a mountain. Emotions are not denied, but owned. You feel them, you acknowledge them, and then you let them go because you understand they do not define you. You are the observer. One. Above the storm. Most people live life like sponges, absorbing every opinion, insult, rumor, and judgment. But the Stoic lives like a stone in the river. Okay. The water flows, but it does not shape him. It flows around him. The moment you begin to live this way, insults become entertainment, betrayals become revelations, and rejection becomes redirection. You no longer crumble when someone withdraws their love or mocks your journey. You begin to see their reaction as a mirror of their soul, not yours. The one who lashes out is the one carrying the wound. The one who speaks poison does so because their cup is full of it. Why would you drink from it? People will project their shadows onto you. Don't be their screen. The more self-aware you become, the less control others have over your peace. You become so centered that their noise becomes background static, a distant echo you barely register. Miss discipline. This is what true maturity looks like. The refusal to get dragged into petty, emotional warfare. When someone attacks you verbally, mentally, or emotionally, realize this. They are revealing their own suffering. Their pain is loud. Let them scream. Let them burn out. You don't need to match their chaos with chaos. The calmer you are, the more they feel their own dissonance. And that is how the Stoic wins. Not by dominating others, but by mastering the self. Do not be so easily moved. You don't need to attend every argument you're invited to. You don't need to prove your worth to anyone. Silence is a weapon. Use it like a blade. Withdraw your energy from drama, and drama dies. And here's the Stoic secret. They want to bother you. Why? Because the bothered man is controllable. The offended man is reactive. But the unmoved man, he is feared. Because he cannot be manipulated. And so they will test you, bait you with words, rejection, gossip, even betrayal. Let them do their dance, you. You walk in stillness, your purpose, your principles, your peace. These are your armor. They cannot touch a soul wrapped in its own mission. When you're busy building something eternal, temporary voices don't matter. You stop needing revenge. You stop needing the last word. You stop needing them to understand you. All right? Because you understand you. That's enough. If it stings, go inward. Ask, what part of me still needs healing? Then thank the moment for revealing that weakness. That's what the Stoic does. He doesn't run from pain. He studies it. Then he masters it. The insult becomes instruction. The betrayal becomes a blueprint. Nothing is wasted. Stop expecting peace from people who don't have it within them. And don't allow your peace to become their playground. Emotional sovereignty. It's the ultimate power when you can sit in the fire and not burn. You've won. When they try to hurt you, be the ocean, wide, deep, and unmoved. The rock they throw will only ripple across your surface. Beneath, you are undisturbed. Be so whole within yourself that their words break on your boundaries like waves on a cliff. Solid, rooted, still. Because in the end, no one can hurt you if you do not hand them the weapon. That is Stoic power. That is how you remain unveiled to read. Asterisk everything you experience in this world. Every insult, every wound, every emotional trigger, all begins in one place. The inner sanctuary of your mind. Nothing comes to you uninvited, because you might think someone offended you. But in truth, it was your perception that allowed the offense to enter. This is where the secret lies. It is never the action of another that disturbs you, but your interpretation of it. And the beautiful, liberating truth is this. Perception is a choice. You may not control what others do, but you always control how it is received. If you are hurt, it is not because they threw stones it is because you accepted the stones as your truth. Start to live above disturbance. You must first understand that the world mirrors your inner assumptions. If you believe others have the power to bother you, you live as their subject. But if you recognize yourself as the operant power, the only authority over your experience, then nothing external can shake you. The external world is not something. You wrestle with it as something you instruct. It is clay in your hands, and your state of being is the sculptor. Every insult, every rejection, every cold stare, they are powerless if you do not give them meaning. You are not a victim of their words, unless your inner dialogue grants them significance. Your reactions are the evidence of your inner conversations. If you live in the assumption that others must respect you, validate you, or treat you a certain way in order for you to feel whole, then you have already enslaved yourself. You've placed your peace in their pockets. You've made your self-concept dependent on the approval of others who may not even know themselves. But the one who understands the law of mind knows that the only judgment that matters is the one you hold within. Others cannot harm you unless you're in harmony with the vibration of harm. Their words only strike if there is an inner wound still open. Close it by changing your concept of self. Do not seek to be untouched by offense, be unreachable by it. Imagine now that nothing could touch you without your permission. Imagine hearing criticism and feeling no need to defend yourself. Imagine rejection, not stinging, but revealing what is no longer aligned with you. This power is not fantasy, it is your birthright, but you must claim it. You claim it by choosing the right perception. You were never designed to be reactive. You were created to be cause. You do not respond to life. Life responds to you. If someone belittles you, you have two options. 1, descend into the illusion and accept their version of who you are. 2, stand still in your inner knowing and let their words dissolve. Like mist in the sunlight of your awareness. You can choose to say, that is not who I am, and it will pass. Because identity is not what they call you, it's what you answer to. Do not answer to offense. Do not answer to labels that diminish. Answer only to the name you have given yourself in the silence of your imagination. And that name is peace. That name is power. That name is untouchable. You must never forget that the moment you assume a state, you instruct reality to match it. Assume the state of being unmoved. Assume the state of emotional sovereignty. Let the world throw what it will. What finds no root in you cannot grow. What you do not water with attention will wither. So stop feeding the illusions. Stop entertaining every disturbance as if it has authority. It does not. You do when you realize that perception is your gatekeeper. You begin to guard the gates with sacred awareness. You become deliberate in what you allow in. You ask, does this serve my self-concept? Does this align with the truth I know of myself? And if it does not, you let it pass like wind through an open window. There is no need to block it. No need to resist. You simply do not react. And in your non-reaction, you destroy its power. The same principle applies to validation. There is no deeper prison than the hunger for approval. It is the silent addiction that governs so many lives. But once you see it for what it is, a self-imposed chain, you can dissolve it with a single shift of awareness. Understand this. You do not need anyone to approve of you because you are not incomplete. You are not seeking to become. You are realizing who you already are. And who you are does not require permission to exist. If someone praises you and you drink too deeply from that cup, you have now handed them the key to your identity. And tomorrow, if they withhold that praise, you will feel lost. This is the trap. Do not build your house on the sands of external affirmation. Build it on the rock of inner truth. The opinions of others shift like shadows at dusk, at the self. You assume in imagination this is eternal. You were not born to be liked. You were born to be free. Freedom comes when you no longer chase applause. When you walk into a room and you're not scanning faces for approval, but simply radiating. The knowing of your worth, that's the power of detachment. You are not cold. You are not indifferent. You are full, so full. In fact, that you no longer seek to be filled. That fullness silences the world's noise. That fullness renders you immune to manipulation. You may be misunderstood. You may be ridiculed. Let them speak. You owe no one an explanation for your peace. You owe no one a justification for your power. The more you validate yourself, the less you need to be seen. The more you see yourself as whole, the less you need to be completed by praise. The ones who live untouchable lives are not those who shut down emotionally. They are those who stand so firm in their concept of self that no storm can unseat them. You train yourself to be this way not through force, but through awareness. When the desire for validation arises, you do not suppress it. You witness it. You ask, what do I believe I'm missing? And you give that to yourself. If you believe you're lacking love, you imagine love radiating from within. If you believe you're lacking significance, you affirm your own importance, not in arrogance, but in divine recognition. You rewire the belief that says, I need them to tell me who I am. You declare, I know who I am. And that knowing becomes your shield. That knowing becomes your gravity. You attract people and experiences, not by chasing them, but by embodying the state where they must show up. No longer are you the beggar in the market of affection. You become the merchant of presence. You sell nothing. You need nothing. You simply are. And that being, the world adjusts. The critics soften. The praise loses power. The insults miss their mark. Not because they changed, but because you did. You stopped being affected when you stopped believing they can give or take something from you. All you've ever needed was already within. In the moment you know this, you are free. Free from the craving to be accepted. Free from the fear of being disliked. Free from the compulsion to explain your worth. This is the foundation of true peace, not escape from people, but sovereignty within yourself. Let others speak. Let them misunderstand. Let them judge. But as for you, remain still in the knowing. Nothing bothers you unless you give it permission. Cool. And you have revoked that permission forever. Asterisk. There is a silence more powerful than thunder. A stillness that speaks louder than confrontation. When others rise in rage, trying to bait you into reaction, you remain composed not from weakness, but from supreme understanding. You have discovered the sacred art of disarming with indifference. To respond with fury is to admit they've touched something tender in you. But when you remain still, when your inner atmosphere does not tremble, their attempts dissolve into nothing. They begin to feel the emptiness of their own hostility. Okay. The performance loses its audience. Without your attention, the fire they hoped to ignite within you never finds its spark. This is not about coldness. It is not withdrawal from life, nor is it apathy. It is transcendence. You have simply stepped beyond the frequency where their attacks operate. When they throw venom, it finds no wound. When they shout, they echo into silence, because you no longer live in reaction. You live in creation. This choice to withhold your energy from conflict is not a denial of power, but the highest expression of it. What you do not engage with cannot grow. What you do not respond to cannot rule you. They will wonder how you stayed composed. They will try again, louder this time, pushing more buttons, digging deeper into the archive of your history, hoping you'll break. But your stillness confuses them. Your composure disturbs them. Why? Because most people are addicted to drama. They survive off emotional exchange. And when they cannot extract your energy, they are left with their own. And that is what they truly fear. You have become the mirror that shows them who they are without distraction. And not everyone is ready to see their reflection so clearly so. You must understand that your indifference is not cruelty. This mastery. It is a signal that you have stopped allowing your mood to be governed by someone else's weather. You are not the wind. You are the mountain. When the wind howls, the mountain remains unmoved. This is how you take back your authority now, by winning arguments. Not by proving your worth through counterattack, but by standing in the serene, knowing that nothing outside you can define you. And now, take this further. Let us look at pain not as punishment, but as a sacred tool. You have been taught to run from pain, to silence it, to numb it. But pain, when seen rightly, is the greatest revealer. It exposes your vulnerabilities, your unresolved stories, your inner conversations that still whisper of lack and limitation. What a gift! Because if you could not feel it, you could not locate the belief behind it. Pain is the messenger that points to the lie you've accepted as truth. When someone wounds you with words or withdrawal, and you feel the sting in your chest, ask not, why did they do this? But why did this hurt me? Not out of guilt, but out of clarity. You ask because you want to find the doorway, the origin point where the assumption of unworthiness still lives. And then, in your inner world, you revise it. You do not suppress. You do not pretend. You transmute. This is how you use pain to reveal power. The reaction is the symptom. The belief is the cause. When you dissolve the cause, the symptoms disappear. And you begin to see that you were never reacting to what they did. You were reacting to what you believed their actions confirmed about you. If they ignore you and you feel small, the pain was not in their silence, but in your story. If they insult you and you spiral, the pain was not in their words, but in your agreement. Once this is understood, pain transforms from enemy to ally. It becomes the alarm bell that tells you there is something here to unlearn. False belief. You must go inward. The world cannot tell you the truth of who you are. It can only echo your assumptions. So if the world reflects pain, reflect deeper. What are you assuming about yourself? About love? About respect? About worthiness? And then, once discovered, rewrite it not with logic alone, but with feeling. Assume a new identity and imagination. See yourself as whole, untouchable, radiant. Feel what it would be like to live without the wound. Let that become your state. The beautiful paradox is that once you use pain this way, it loses its grip. It no longer frightens you. You become available to all of life, not just the joy, but the moments of pressure, because you know they lead to clarity. Every wound becomes a doorway. Every sting becomes a signpost. And each time you pass through, you emerge less reactive, more aware. You realize the insults were never personal. They were invitations to affirm your power. And when you don't react, when you transmute the energy, you break the cycle. You become the ending of that pattern. And this, too, disarms those who try to hurt you. Because what they expected to wound you instead awakens you. Awakens you. Used it as a compass. They meant to reduce you, but you grew. And now their attempts backfire. They thought you'd collapse, but you elevated. This is true alchemy, the act of using opposition as raw material for transcendence. There is nothing more intimidating to those who try to control others than someone who refuses to be disturbed. It is not rebellion. It is not resistance. It is inner stability. When your peace becomes non-negotiable, they have no access. When your worth is not dependent on how others treat you, they can no longer manipulate you with attention or withdrawal. You've stepped beyond the game. You've left the battlefield, but the work must continue within. This isn't a one-time declaration. It is a lifestyle of awareness. Each time pain arises, pause, witness it, welcome it, ask what belief it has, come to expose, and then, in your sacred inner world, reshape that belief. Do not try to fix the external. Do not demand others change. You go to the cause, the root, the seed, and from there, plant a new assumption. You are not practicing indifference to punish others. You are practicing it to protect your peace. You are not using pain to dramatize your story. You are using it to dissolve the story. Okay. Every time you choose stillness instead of reaction, clarity instead of confusion, okay, response instead of reflex, you're creating a new self. Not from force, but from realization. That realization becomes your strength. That awareness becomes your armor. Not hardened, not defensive, but transparent. They throw their opinions at you, but they pass through. They reach for your emotions, but you've placed them beyond reach. Not hidden, not suppressed, it's no longer governed by others. You are no longer reactive. You are deliberate. And as this becomes natural, you find that less and less things trigger you. Fewer words stick. Fewer people have access. The emotional hooks fall away, and the self that remains is solid, present, free. That self no longer fears pain. It listens to it. That self no longer resents conflict. It learns from it. That self no longer plays defense, stands in knowing. This is the path. The removal of noise, the silence of reaction, the healing of assumptions, the remembering of power, not as something to be achieved, but as something to be reclaimed. All that disturbs you is only there to remind you what you no longer need to believe. And all that remains wants disturbance. His past is truths, stillness, and the quiet strength of a self that cannot be shaken. Asterisk. The words you silently speak to yourself are the architects of your experience. Not one thing manifests in your life without first passing through the corridor of your inner dialogue. The tone you take with yourself, the assumptions you live by, the images you replay in the theater of your mind. These are the silent creators of your outer world. What others say about you may echo for a moment, but it is the conversation you continue within that gives their words power. It is not their insult that wounds you, but your agreement with it. And it is that agreement that you must learn to withdraw. You are not at the mercy of the opinions of others, but you are always subject to your own. You cannot stop a harsh word from being spoken, but you can decide whether it will be absorbed. Okay. A man may call you unworthy, but if you do not echo it within, it will pass through you as wind through an open field. Okay. If, however, you repeat it inside, if you take his voice and give it life in your imagination, then you become both the accuser and the accused. No enemy outside can defeat you unless it first finds a friend within. And this is why you must tend to your inner speech with reverence. Begin to listen. Okay. Catch yourself in the act of self-denial, of smallness, of inner criticism. Notice when you replay someone's rejection, not as an isolated event, but as a verdict. Watch how your mind turns their moment of cruelty into your lifetime of belief. Do not fight the thought, revise it. Imagine now, with all feeling, the opposite. Where you once heard you're not enough, here instead, you are more than worthy. Where you once repeated, they don't care about me, speak instead, I am always seen and valued. This shift is not empty. Affirmation, it is reprogramming. You are not pretending. You are claiming a new truth. And that truth, once accepted, must express itself. You are not waiting for someone else to speak kindly to you. You are becoming the voice you always needed. And that voice, when spoken from the depth of imagination, reshapes everything. Within, so without. What you accept in silence will appear in substance. What you assume is real, though unseen, will cast its shadow on the world you walk in. And so the most sacred responsibility is the care of your internal world, because it is from this place that your reality springs. If you allow the voice within to be ruled by fear, by doubt, by memory of past betrayal, then the life you live will simply mirror back that inner conflict. But if you make your inner speech one of assurance, clarity, and love, the world begins to reflect something new. The reactions of others become irrelevant because they no longer set the tone. You set the tone, but your voice becomes the authority. The moment you believe differently, you see differently. The one who changes his inner speech changes his life. This change is not occasional. It is not something you visit once and hope it lasts. It must become a discipline, a habit, a sacred, daily ritual. You do not speak kindly to yourself only when others are cruel. You do it every day because you are the one who must believe you are enough. Others will only treat you in the way you have taught yourself to be treated. Your inner conversations. Tell them how to behave. Your vibration speaks before your words. But discipline is not punishment. Discipline is devotion. It is the structure through which freedom is achieved. A life without discipline is a life open to every storm. You must have something that grounds you, anchors you, holds you to your vision when the world offers nothing but chaos. And this is where routine enters, not as rigidity, but as alignment. When you live by principle rather than impulse, you stop being at the mercy of your emotions. When you create order within your day, you create peace within your soul. A powerful routine is not one filled with noise. It is one filled with intention. You wake not to react, but to align. You do not check who messaged you first. You check who you are becoming. You take the time to set your assumption for the day. You do not leave the house with your mind unguarded. You clothe yourself in awareness. You go within, and there you speak your command. Today, I remain unmoved. Today, I walk in power. Today, I am the embodiment of peace. And from that inner posture, your day unfolds. Those without structure are easily shaken. The person with no routine is like a ship with no rudder tossed by every wave of circumstance. But when you live by inner rhythm, when you rise and return to your center daily, you become immovable. Your emotions no longer dictate your actions. Other people's moods no longer decide your direction. You place your hand on the wheel and your soul now steers. Even in difficulty, routine becomes sanctuary. In chaos, it becomes your temple. Because the one who rises each morning and reclaims his power does not lose it when others are loud. He remains centered because he never stopped returning to center. You cannot control the events of the world, but you can control the atmosphere you bring into each moment. That atmosphere is cultivated in silence, in repetition, in private devotion. Imagine now, a man whose morning begins in stillness. He does not rush. He does not scroll. He breathes. He imagines. He affirms. Before the world has touched him, he has already touched the world within. And so when others try to provoke him, they find no opening. His energy has already been set. His emotions have already been addressed. His peace has already been chosen. And in the same way, his evening is not left to accident. Before rest, he returns to imagination. He does not sleep in anxiety. He sleeps in assumption. He tells his mind what to dream. He sets the tone for tomorrow. He does not leave the door open for random thoughts. He closes the day as deliberately as he began it. And because of this, his life begins to reflect the order within. Not perfect, but powerful. Not loud, but aligned. You are not too scattered to begin this practice. You are not too late to reclaim your discipline. All it takes is a single moment of choice, one act of inner commitment. Do not look at how far you've drifted. Look at how quickly you can return. You are always only one breath away from alignment, one word away from power, one image away from transformation. Let your inner voice become your daily companion. Let your routine become your invisible fortress. And through both, you'll begin to notice something extraordinary. The things that used to bother you now pass by unnoticed. The people who once had power over your emotions no longer reach you, not because they've changed, but because you have. You no longer respond from habit to, respond from wholeness. This is not about perfection. It is about presence. Okay. You are not becoming someone else. You are becoming more of who you truly are. Okay. And who you truly are is already complete. Simply removing what blocks that knowing, through inner speech, you remind yourself of. Through daily structure, you reinforce it. Let others live by chance. You will live by design. Let others wake in reaction. You awaken intention. And as you do, you will discover that life becomes quieter. Not because there's less noise, but because you have mastered the volume within. And in that silence, all things become possible. Asterisk, to walk this world in peace, you must learn the sacred art of selection. Not every presence deserves proximity. Not every voice deserves to echo in your mind. There is no virtue in tolerating environments that drain your spirit or confuse your vision. You are not born to absorb the confusion of others, nor to be entangled in the restlessness of the undisciplined. You are not here to save anyone who does not want to be saved, and certainly not at the cost of your clarity. The circle you keep becomes the mirror of your state. To protect your state, you must become precise in the company you entertain. You do not need to announce your boundaries. You need only live them. The moment you align yourself with a higher standard, the misaligned begin to feel it. They sense your distance, even if you never take a step. They sense your elevation, even if you never speak of it. Because energy communicates long before words. And when you withdraw your attention from those who feed on your weakness or doubt, you are not abandoning them. You are returning to yourself. You are reclaiming the temple of your inner world, refusing to allow it to. It's become the playground of those who live in chaos. The one who understands the power of assumption also understands the power of association. You cannot expect to maintain high awareness while immersed in conversations rooted in fear, gossip, or envy. The mind absorbs. It absorbs the tone, the posture, the beliefs of those around it. Not because it is weak, but because it is designed to reflect. And so you must choose carefully what it reflects. When you dwell in the atmosphere of clarity, your mind becomes clear. When you surround yourself with those who honor vision, your vision sharpens. If you walk among the bitter, you will begin to feel bitterness. If you sit with those who blame, your spirit begins to seek something to blame. This is not judgment. This is wisdom. To guard your energy is not pride. It's reverence. You are responsible for the inner state you maintain, and you cannot nurture it in soil that chokes your roots. Even the strongest tree withers in poisoned ground, and so you must become vigilant, not in fear, but in understanding. The circle you keep is not just a social choice, it's a spiritual one. It shapes what you hear, what you feel, what you believe is possible. But the people around you only reflect the old you, the fearful you, the reactive you. Then do not be surprised if you feel stuck. Their presence reinforces the very states you are seeking to leave. Let them go gently, not in anger, but in love. In love for yourself. In love for your unfolding. Let your absence become your declaration. Not because you believe you are better, but because you believe you are becoming. And becoming requires space. Space to breathe, to imagine, to re-identify. This space cannot exist in environments where your worth is questioned or your vision mocked. You do not need to debate your dreams. You do not need to explain your elevation. You only need to rise. And rising requires release. Release them in imagination first. No longer see them as needed, as permanent, as defining. See yourself whole without their input. See yourself beyond the dynamic. And once the image has been revised within, the external will conform. The conversations will fade. The invitations will slow. Not because you force anything, but because your new vibration no longer participates in the old story. This is how reality bends when you stop trying to fix the old and instead assume the new. Every relationship you have is a reflection of a state within. They are not random. They are not coincidences. They are mirrors. And if a mirror reflects a distortion, you do not fix the mirror, you shift the self that stands before it. Someone brings out the worst in you. They are reflecting a self-concept you've yet to release. Do not change them. Change the self they are responding to. Imagine now, from the state of the healed, the clear, the sovereign. What kind of company surrounds that version of you? What kind of conversations? What kind of energy? What kind of silence? That is your template. Assume it, and it must come to pass. There is also a deeper alchemy, one that turns insult into insight. When someone criticizes you, when someone rejects or betrays or ridicules, the impulse is to either defend or withdraw. But the higher response is to examine, not them, but the self. What part of you responded to the insult? What belief did it touch? Because no insult can enter unless there is already a wound within that believes it. And that moment of pain, if used rightly, becomes the portal to revision. You were never offended unless you agree. You were never hurt unless a part of you still believes you can be diminished. And so, you use the insult as a light that shows you where to look. Okay. It shows you the assumption that must be reformed. If someone says you are not enough and you feel the sting, ask yourself what you've been imagining about your own worth. If someone ignores you and you spiral, ask yourself what you've been assuming about your place in their world. You are not reacting to them. You are reacting to your own echo. This awareness turns every criticism into a lesson. Not because others are wise, but because their behavior reflects the contents of your consciousness. They speak, but it is your belief that gives their words power. And so the work is never to correct them, it's to correct yourself. Not with guilt, but with clarity. You no longer say, they hurt me. You say, that revealed where I still needed to heal. And in that moment, you rise in wisdom. You reclaim your authorship. Now imagine the next time someone attempts to wound you. Their words come, but they find no entrance. You observe, but you do not absorb. And rather than reacting, you revise. In the silence of your mind, you see yourself whole. You hear the opposite of their claim. You do not let the wound fester. You dissolve it before it forms. This is how you become untouchable. Not because you are guarded, but because you are awake. Awake to your own authority. This is mastery. To live in such deep ownership of your state that nothing external holds dominion. To walk through fire and not burn because you carry no flammable beliefs. To face rejection and feel no collapse because you know you were never truly seeking from them what only you can give to yourself. You are not here to be validated. A cue. You are here to remember. And every insult, every trigger, every sting, if received with awareness, becomes a tool for that remembrance. Let others throw stones. You will use them as steps. Let them misunderstand. You will use their confusion as contrast. Let them criticize. You will thank them for pointing you toward the assumption still waiting for healing. There is nothing they can say that you cannot revise. Nothing they can do that you cannot transmute. Because you do not live in their world, you live in your state. And that state is your fortress, your temple, your creation. The deeper you move into this awareness, the less you need to fight. The less you need to explain. You are no longer shaping your life around what you fear might be said. You are shaping it around what you have declared to be true. And in this declaration, your reality bends. The world cannot help but reflect the self you now assume. 'Cause assumption is the law, and what is accepted as true within must appear without. Choose your company with the same precision you choose your thoughts. Let go of what no longer reflects the self you're becoming. And when others attack, do not flinch. Okay, go inward, revise. He'll rise. The circle will shift. The reflections will evolve. And you, steady and silent, will walk untouched, surrounded by only that which you have consciously allowed